Unlocking the Chaos Tome sounds like it should be a really hard challenge on paper, but it's actually surprisingly easy, at least if you go about it the right way. So for this challenge you want to pick a fast character. I went with Tome, but Calcium works fine as well. The key thing about the challenge is that once you start taking a shrine, you cannot leave the radius. So if you step outside of the radius for even a second, you have basically failed the challenge and you must restart. And that's why a monkey, although he's fast, is not really ideal for this. It's pretty easy to accidentally jump around too much and slip out of range. So you should stick with a fast but controlled character. And the main thing you need to know for this challenge to succeed is that there are 15 shrines on every map. So you gotta keep track and make sure you've taken all 15 shrines before you go on to the next tier. I tried to keep track in my head, but it was actually pretty difficult. So I'd recommend you write down every time you take one, so you can be sure how many shrines are left on each tier. You can also press escape and count how many upgrades you've taken from the shrines, but it gets pretty hard to keep track of, so I do really recommend manually counting. Another important thing is that if you ever see the beacon item, you will need to banish it instantly. Having more shrines would just make this challenge harder for yourself for no reason. Now, some tips for survival. For this challenge, difficulty doesn't really matter, so there's not really any reason to take any greed shrines. You can maybe take 1 or 2 if you feel like it's too easy, but be careful not to go overboard here. All you want is to be able to take the shrines without getting forced out of the circle. So you don't want to try to take a shrine while a swarm is happening because of the risk of getting pushed out. Some great weapons to choose here in order to avoid enemies from getting too close are Aegis for the shields, Flamewalker for AoE, and Katana for crit damage. This is the build that I ended up with, but you could also pick Aura instead of Flamewalker and perhaps Banana instead of Katana, which would probably work fine as well. All of these weapons are pretty strong for casual play. But the tomes are what I think matters the most. XP tome is always insane, so you want to get that. And besides that, quantity tome, cooldown tome, and damage tome are my main recommendations. These tomes might not end up winning you the run, but you don't need to beat the final boss here. You just need to make it safely through all 3 tiers. As for what items to pick up, I would just take the same as on any other normal run. The same items that are usually good are also great for this run. The only thing I might prioritize a bit more in this run is stuff like knockback, but otherwise you just want a lot of damage and it should be pretty easy. There are also a few settings that can actually help you out. You want to take the enemy targeting mode to closest enemy, and you can also take the random enemy target slider down to 0.2 or 0.25, and this just makes it so that there's less randomness and it targets enemies closer to you always, which for this challenge is really good. But yeah, that's basically all you need to know for this. Good luck.